A battle of champions in their own right. CECC Midwest champions versus CECC defending champions. Illinois State taking on Maryville here for a Midwest regional spot and the first Overwatch spot to head to CECC Texas 2025. We welcome you inside the booth. We say aloha, friends, and welcome in Clutchy alongside Twin Salty with you as we get set for what is an Okra 1 versus 3 matchup, my friend. This is going to be an insane series to think about.
This is going to be nuts, and especially because these teams played yesterday, right? Like, these teams played yesterday in ABC in the homecoming event. ISU came back, won it 2-1 after dropping the first map 0-2, which is for them very uncharacteristic. They have yet to drop a series this entire semester, and the challenge will be upon Maryville to do it this time, as they got oh so close to doing yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday inside of the Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming style, 2-1s in round number 9 of the Swiss style. And meanwhile, for Illinois State, in speaking of Overwatch Homecoming yesterday, which they did, they finished up 10-0. So this team from ISU, number 1 in the rankings, not for no reason. 10-0, 20-1 map record inside of that homecoming. 8-2 with losses to both Winthrop and Illinois State, but also a point of note, they did drop at the same time too. So Missouri, that game of note against Maryville at the same time. But you're right, yesterday again, Illinois State winning that one 2-1. An 0-2 drop for the Redbirds against them in Oasis, but then Kings Row and New Junk City go their way 3-2, 3-0 respectively. So my friend, you and I got to see both of these teams within their own respects back in Texas, back in Esports Stadium Arlington. Obviously, Redbirds now two-time defending CECC champions. You go back to Atlanta in 2022. Of course, Arlington in 2024 looking to defend their title here in 2025 for the hat trick. Would love to start this off. And again, they are number 1 in Okra right now. They are number 1 ranked as of the second ranking, if you will, from October 17th. So this is a team that knows their stuff. This is a team that everybody knows, that everybody's going to keep their eye on. If they drop a map here, it's not worrying in the slightest, I would say, because they go 3-1 in their semifinals. So we will head into their map right now. And the first map to go through feels a little bit different. It's not Lijiang Tower, folks. It is Helios.
Yeah, going over to Greece for the first map, and just because you kind of touched upon it really quick, yes, this is the finals. Semifinals were played earlier today. Maryville 3-1 over, honestly, I hate saying it this way, a struggling Northwood. I think they're still trying to figure their sums out during this semester. They have just not looked like the normal Northwood that we've seen in years prior. And I will say, ISU, they dropped a map to Ball State. It's great that Ball State had a phenomenal tournament. I think this tournament has more been about, hey, they've really upped their game, but it is still a weird point, and maybe it is just ISU kind of hitting a crack in their code right now. But as we go over to, well, Dive City for both.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like at least ISU is at least touchable, if you will, for that semifinal. Speaking of, though, Illinois State will get things started off very quickly, mind you, the focus being down, the Echo and Tracer battles being won so far by the Echo of Lethal. It'll be a quick 2-man trade-off here as ISU gaps first point.
ISU cap first, and their issue is going to be getting Kuffa out of this. They will be able to, and they will be able to cap. And even though Squid, Lethal maybe sticking around a little bit too long, gets jumped on by Dante. That could be the opening.
Remember, there was that distance fall-off nerf from Juno to the 20-35 meters, so to still get a kill with that, pretty impressive, to say the least. Juno players are still bloodthirsty as ever. They are able to flip the point in the meanwhile because of that pick, so they're able to at least stabilize for right now. Maryville does. Vision coming up on a pulse bomb, too.
One thing I want to look out for here is the difference in supports, because everything else, tank, DPS, they're the same across the board. It is the Juno Braid that we've seen a lot of recently against the Lucio Kiriko that we see a lot in the past, and not until this nerf, but that stick doesn't matter.
Good stick by Vision onto Lethal. That does get traded out for Dante, though, so that's a tank for a DPS. Which one would you rather take? I think you'd rather take the DPS, the tank kill. However, Maryville trying to make a difference here. Squid is going to pull out the orbital ray just to see if they can either stall this point or even win this fight, which they might have because they did take down Admiral. Illinois State still want to fight this, though. They have Couple on, they have W Maimon on at the same time, too. They may be able to flip the point, but rather, this is just going back and forth. Primer Rage is available for Maryville from Dante. 3 more offense available from Illinois State at the same time. They'll trade on DPS as Lethal goes down. Vision goes down, one on either end, but King is going to try to make the impact here with 2 kills of their very own. That's going to be the proper range out. Don't know if you got horizontal movement there either, meaning that Juno might be off the board for a little while. And you're going to have the torpedo side, and yet again, the Juno disruption from Kuppa, but it's still a very good stall here from Maryville.
A phenomenal start. Yes, they will win this fight, I think, at least as of right now. But as I'm saying, that duplicate gets used by Lethal. They're going to go hunt down Squid, and that'll force the rally from Juby.
That forces the rally at the very least. Again, Maryville been stalling this out for quite some time, up to 75%. Illinois State duplicating from Lethal into the Tracer, which doesn't last very long. Illinois State, however, in the meanwhile, is able to flip it while that was all going down, so ISU's got control of this point.
They needed that flip desperately because it was getting out of hand, and now the beat, this will just solidify this. Yeah, Juby just gets ran over, and Maryville will decide to hop on out. But what a long fight. We don't usually see this scrappy of engagement from these types of teams, but as it gets finished out, Maryville up to 80% off of that, as it felt like the fight just could never end. Each team finding pick after pick, and eventually ISU able to flip it. But you gotta wonder if that flip could have came in a little bit earlier, this round could have already been over with.
Yeah, that kill could have been over with as well. And you're talking about long fights. We're used to periods in some of these sentences with these teams and fights. That's not the case this time around. Keaton Rush is going to come out down the middle in the lane. Doesn't really do anything for them. It is able to cut them off. However, somebody is touching. That is going to be Vision that's touching for right now. That allows this team to recover. King's actually going to be able to get sticky bombs onto Lethal, which does give them that advantage in a 5v4. Do we see another stall? Because Illinois State does still have command of the point, although that's going to flip here in just a little while. They're still fighting on point, though. Kuppa is on, and so is W. Maimon just to hold on to this. But the pressure of Maryville is just might get to them. Because right now, Juby is swinging away at this Winston like there is no tomorrow. They will flip the point, though, 81%.
King is having one of his best maps of the year so far. Kill after kill, they're shutting down Lethal, who has been a bright spot of this ISU roster for years. And even in the fight prior, the way it opened up, Juby's able to hit a flail, displace Lethal, the stickies land, and now ISU, they got to rush in to force the overtime.
Got to force in and rush the OT, which W. Maimon does. Touches point at the last second. Focus Beat's not going to find anything. There is going to be the cleanse out for now. Salute Mino doesn't have it. Admiral does have a sound barrier though to keep this team in, but King and Vision both getting their kills. It's a 2-for-2 trade. This is still going to amount to anything. They have the sticky bombs on. King's got to use the duplicate just to stay alive, but doesn't even get a chance to use it. Illinois State might have the flip here in a very close fight yet again. They will still contest this. Overtime clock still available to them, but Dante may want to get out of the dodge here just to regroup.
Yeah, they didn't need to fully commit to that. I think that's why you didn't see the duplicate used by King, because now that is their big ultimate going in. Yes, you have Pulse, you're going to have Rally soon, but that is going to be how you try and earn that first blood.
99-99. We will see a full map here on Lighthouse to start us off. Overtime clock starts to melt away. They are able to get the touchback on, though. Rally's going to get popped from Juby. So is the proper range of Kuppa. This is going to get a little bit crazy inside of the side room. Somehow, some way, though, Vision's able to see something out of it. Juby and Vision both find their picks. Maryville may be able to flip this point back. Recover for right now, though. If Illinois State wants this fight to elongate, they got to get away, but the Tracer's in a whole lot of trouble. Stuck inside of the side room. Point hasn't flipped just yet, but the overtime clock is going to melt away so quickly. There is the Tracer there in the meanwhile, but it's not going to be enough. Maryville able to secure good picks early on in that fight. 199 Lighthouse is theirs.
This is what happens when you get, two of the best teams in the country right now. An absolute banger of a map so far in Maryville. And I gotta say it again, King is playing out of his world right now on this Echo, and I also do believe that the support composition, the risk that, I would say the risk, I guess the risk was on ISU, going back to that Lucio Kiriko that we saw ages ago before Juno was introduced in the game. It didn't work because of the fact that the fights were so elongated that they want quick fights. Maryville wanted the long fights. It went into their favor. And now as we head over to Lighthouse, yes, we're going to see a lot of the same, but it will be lethal. This has been something we've seen a lot of from ISU these last few weeks. They're not afraid to throw lethal on the Widowmaker to try and make an early stance, and that is going to force King to play a little more subdued.
Lethal on the Widowmaker is something I did not expect on a Lighthouse map here. Well gets taken 199 from Maryville's side. Illinois State wants to put the pressure on now because Maryville in a very more comfortable position. However, as I say that, W. Maimon's able to take care of Squid. That's a big chunk of your healing down. The only healing you got left is a Brigida. Now Lucamino on over to the Ana instead, makes this a little bit more tough. No Kiriko on that side. It's going to be ISU capturing first point.
Yeah, ISU cap, and it's not even because of lethal like we were talking about. It could be. It was just a great dive into the backline. Juby gets caught out extremely early, and that just ruins the entire game plan for Maryville. And now lethal, they're in their perfect spot. They're on top of the lighthouse. It is practically impossible for anybody except for King to try and get substantial pressure because Dante jumps up, but now they're in an awkward spot.
And they're going to be even in a more awkward spot as Dante goes down here. Maryville's got no stability right now as Dante goes out of play for a little while. And again, these Bionades have been good. King's in the air in that Bionade lands. So just imagine right now, right? Illinois State, 2 players change, and all of a sudden, the narrative just changes.
Yeah, the narrative completely changes in this map because now it really turns into not as much King, and now it is just how do you deal with lethal in this spot? It's more just the fear of what they can do more than anything is already. Dante dives up, they're almost dead.
Yeah, I mean, lethal landing lethal against the Winston as well, but somehow, some way, King takes down lethal and Dante stays alive. So Maryville gets a little bit of a door opening here as they will find the point. Everybody's going to stave off of it for right now. There is going to be couple on, does not have the primer range for the moment. Will die before he can even get it, so Maryville is able to flip.
Maryville is able to flip it around, and I'm kind of curious what the game plan was there for lethal. I'm not going to lie to you, Keegan. I'm a little confused. Maybe thinking that Dante was lower than they were and realizing, hey, King and Squid were right there to get it done. And they at least flip it. I wonder if lethal will swap soon, because like you said, it's not super common to see this as the dive comes through and then Nano goes on.
Nano goes on to lethal. Can you hit any headshots, though? These would be insta-kills at this point. Vision taking down W Maimon, though, and that's going to be the duplication already out of the process. This is just a dive party here. No sleep dart lands. Right now, lots of ultimates on the board, but that also means ISU was able to flip the point in the process here, so the fight continues on. This is right now Redbirds want to lose here because they do have this point, and they now have this Widowmaker in a whole lot of trouble. That's the kill onto King, but that's traded out for lethal at the moment, and this is going to be a very, very good rally here just to stun him out. Lucamino doing excellent. They cannot stop this Ana right now. They're going to need to if they want any chance of this. That's a stun. That's almost a boof off the map, and indeed, it is a boof off the map thanks to the primal range and Kuppa. 96%. The rally for Juby goes for absolutely nothing. It's just the Juno left to go on point, which Kuppa only has the secondary fire on. This map is going to melt away. It's a 124 on the Lighthouse, and we are going the distance all the way to Ruins.
Ruins is where we will end it here on Ilios, as that was a more comfortable ISU and a more bewildered Maryville, trying to figure out how they wanted to press the high ground. And even with lethal at times, they also struggled to punish Lucamino up on the high ground. It's kind of how Maryville did well over on Well. So now, with this being Ruins, this is the one that we may not always see dive, and that's why we see the horse coming out for both these teams. Kuppa and Dante going over to the Orisa. The Genji's coming out as well. Now that we are not so dive focused, needing that Tracer to be there immediately, they would rather take the risk and a little more consistent damage from the Genji, and it will be, okay, they will go back over to the Break. So now Break Juno for both sides and the Widows as well. So Vision, they got their work cut out for them, that is for sure.
Oh yeah, they got their work cut out for them here because yeah, everything changes on either end. It's going to be pretty much this. It's going to be a mirror fight on either end. There's no more Winstons. There's no more Tracers, Echoes. It's pretty much all on the snipers and the Genjis here. Speaking of the Genjis, W Maimon beating up Juby on the melee attack here. And this Juno's in a whole lot of trouble. Good thing you're able to get out of there, but you're not able to get out with this. Your team's lives. Admiral W Maimon both getting kills on the Widowmaker and the Orisa. This is obviously first flip as Redbirds yet again. They're 3 for 3 on the first flips.
Yeah, they've been great on earning this first fight and getting the initial percentage. For them, it's just been a little bit at times like, hey, where do we want to stand? Where do we want to hold this point? And that was more of an issue on Well, as the Widows trying to scout each other. You can see King and W Maimon are trying to get out there to give their Widowmakers a little bit of assistance. This is a very aggressive angle from lethal, but it doesn't end up buying any purchase.
Well, when you're a Widowmaker, there's really only like 2 or 3 spots you can go through, so you're absolutely right. Being aggressive down that lane when, you know, shurikens or anything can come rolling at you is very, very risky, but the risk you might want to take, especially in a game like this where we're tied 1-1. We're not going to have an 0-2 like we did back on Homecoming on Oasis. It is 2-1 and a very close 2-1 at that. Illinois State trying to stabilize a little bit as Kuppa goes down to half health. King also down very low as well, but a good thing you got the healers there for right now. But just finding that open door, anything. Trying to find something. I mean, like, these Widowmakers are searching, but it feels like they're just building up for ultimates.
And it's forcing each team to play super conservative because they haven't been able to get that clear line of sight. But that's the opener that ISU needed.
Yeah, that's the open door. Lethal gets vision down, which means you don't have to worry about a Widowmaker. It's going to be the orbital ray that comes down. That's a risky take, but it's a risk that comes up with a big reward. That's 4 kills off of it, make it a 5th. And 1 orbital ray gives them 5 limbs, and it's a flip for Maryville.
And that is a disaster for ISU because of the fact that WMA Melon used the blade to try and take advantage of the orbital ray blade combo. It backfires Maryville with a beautiful counterpunch, and that is how orbital ray has been used more and more, and I think teams are starting to understand why. As now ISU are the team who have to push into this Widow where they don't know where vision is quite yet, but it's been searched.
He was going to have the rallies at the same time as Admiral does. Lethal, though, starting off with an opening pick on Vision, but just because there's one does not mean it's over just yet, as Maryville just showed. The blade's going to come out from King. That's a lot of assist, and that's going to be a slash dash away on the King, making a 3rd onto Luke Mino off the edge of the map, and this Arisa's just going to say goodbye into the ocean. Again, 1 ult pulled off from Illinois State, but Maryville's able to win it.
Maryville have been great so far this map of bringing back fights where they lose the first member. Even both times, I believe, it has been Vision, and granted, losing your Widowmaker isn't the worst case scenario, but they've been able to bring back so fast. It's not even like they're trying to wait for Vision to return, and it has just been that quick of a turnaround.
And 1 person down again does not mean the fight's over, and that's just how high level teams are right now. Infra sights are up on either end. Lethal's just ended. Vision still up. Vision can find an opening pick here. Let's find a headshot, but it doesn't really matter. Onto a reset at the start. Good deflection right at the last moment there. And she's going to make a lot of trouble here. That is going to be the rally up from Admiral, though. Tries to use this to their advantage, but Illinois State is not making any space with this rally whatsoever. Maryville's got all the open advantages here. They're making sure they're cutting away from all that big damage now. Falls down to 80 health, and Dante falling down also low as well. And even though they flipped the point, not bad. 82%. ISU gets it back.
It'll be the staggers here that could hurt them a little bit as, yeah, Juby gets taken out. I believe, yeah, the King. Ooh, does King live here? Yes, they should be able to as they head back over to spawn. But it is still a relatively quick fight that Maryville need to take. 85% already and counting for ISU. They have the orbital ray on both sides. Last time it went the way of Maryville, they needed to go that way once again.
Maryville needs it to go their way here. It's going to be the orbital ray that comes out, played at the same time. See if this finds anything. Admiral's able to find Juby, though, on the final blow. And the orbital ray from Squid this time around is not good enough to stave off the Redbirds. The CECC defending champions are off and running here. 199, 124, 182. And they will take it. Map number 1 on Ilios.
Whew, that, yeah, feeling just like yesterday, huh? A little bit longer even this time on the control map. But ISU, unlike yesterday where Maryville's one map was controlled, they looked phenomenal on Oasis. Even when ISU tried to run the dive, it didn't work out, and that's how they got that one map advantage. This time, it doesn't go their way. They go 1-1 on the dive maps. ISU look cleaner on the Orisa later on, and it's a tricky spot now for Maryville, but this is now to their advantage with this format. Next map is their choice, right? Like, they get to pick wherever they want to go. As long as it's not control, I believe. They can't return to control quite yet. They can go to anything else. And I wouldn't be shocked, though, if they do not return to Kings Row or New Junk City, as that is what they lost on yesterday.
Yeah, so basically, folks, for those that don't know the rule set here, it's essentially what OWCS has, where you can pick any map, any mode, so long as it is unique to the series itself. There's a map pool of 4, though, on each end, so you never know what they could pick. You never know what could happen here, and especially in a crucial map number 2, because like we were saying earlier on, this was a map, right? This control map was the lone map in that best of 3, first to 2, that Maryville won. So for Illinois State to have won this, now you feel like Maryville's kind of on the back foot here. You feel like this is the time now where they really, really need to regroup. So who knows what we're going to find out. But, I mean, if you're this team from Maryville, before we take a break, from this team from Maryville, what are you picking here?
I would say, I think their dive when it was the Lucio Kiriko versus the Brig Juno, the dive was better for Maryville. So I wonder if you want to go that route. Yes, I know that plays into Kuffa's hero pool. He loves locking the Winston, and it's a hero he's very comfortable on. But I do believe that the better echo play was on the side of King, and the support lineup also worked better. So if you want to try and force that back, maybe you want to go to like a Numbani or something to that degree, maybe a Hollywood, to try and bring a lot more of the dive aspects out, because the rush, yes, it was what, 100 to 60, I believe, 100 to 80, something like that on Ruins. I don't believe it is their best because it doesn't allow King to really pop off on that flex DPS role.
All right, well, we will find out. And the next map may very well shock you here. We will take a short break. When we come back, we will see what map number 2 is. You're watching the CECC Midwest Regional Grand Finals of Overwatch right here on Esports U. Welcome back from the break, everybody. Clutch Key alongside Twin Salty with you here as we go into map number 2. 1-0 lead for the Redbirds, the defending CECC champions, after a 2-1 Ilios win. Very, very different result from what Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming had yesterday for them on Oasis, and an 0-2 or 2-0 win, I should say, for this team from Maryville. So now Illinois State on the front foot. And here's the surprise for map number 2, my friend. We are going to a map that Maryville lost on a sweep 3-0. It is New Junk City we are going to next.
Yeah, I didn't think this was gonna happen. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did not think this was going to happen. I thought maybe if they want to try Flashpoint again, they go over to Suravasa. It's just the more common Flashpoint map at this point. But it's also just obviously not the one they lost to, not just 3-2, not just 3-1, 3-0. They lost this yesterday to finish off their homecoming series. So they obviously have a plan in mind. And whether it be yesterday, they were kind of just showing something that really isn't their focus, and now they want to show their actual plan, or if they realize, hey, we just made a lot of little mistakes that can easily be fixed, that is going to be what determines this. If they can fix the mistakes from yesterday, it is going to be, for the grand majority, a mirror, and Lethal will once again, he did this yesterday on this map, will bring back the Widowmaker here on New Junk City.
I mean, Lethal's been hitting shots, if it was any indication, back on Ilios, so this might, let's see if it works out for the better yet again here on New Junk City, as they'll put a lot more pressure on. Redbirds are going to put a lot more pressure already into the side run from where Maryville was earlier, and King's falling also low. In fact, King's just going to fall, and now it's just a runaround here from Maryville, or from Illinois State, rather, I should say, just to clean up picks. This ISU is going to get the first cap.
Yeah, ISU will get first cap, and I don't believe that nobody from ISU will fall. I'm curious how King got in that position. I'm not sure if they got jabbed into that kind of spot, but they were completely away from the rest of their team, and ISU able to snatch up on that opportunity. Lethal getting very aggressive with his opening angle, and actually lands a shot on Adante to force them just to play a little more conservative, and I think ISU's actually going to try and finish this, but instead they'll get Juby.
They do get Juby down, and this is just a push out here as one person already separated out. This is Vision that is just kept out of place from the rest of the team. So Maryville already halfway home, and halfway home to the first point, I should say, on Arena, and yet it doesn't seem like Maryville is able to stabilize at all.
They're struggling to get out of spawn at this point because ISU acknowledged that, especially with the timing, that is a flashpoint. It is so quick to go from point to point. They will just play it forwards, and granted, King realizes that. They're going to try and force point by going underneath and at least force somewhat of a retreat, but at this point, Maryville are in one-fight territory.
Which I don't feel like it's a bad idea anyways, because now you pull W Maimon's attention out for the time being. But let's see what happens here. It's going to be the Orbital Ray Blade at the same time, pushing it through. Dante's going to use the Terror Surge, but it's going to be all for nothing. W Maimon with 3 kills on the Blade, and it's ISU sweeping up house on the first point of Arena.
And that was an expensive loss for Maryville. You have Terra Surge and Orbital Ray, which is arguably the best ultimate in the game right now, used during that fight. I think the Life Reaver just to pull somebody a little bit closer. And actually will have plenty of time to set up here in their positioning, but this Widowmaker continues to be a pain in the side of Maryville. They do not know how to counter it so far, and it's left Vision and King just to not play at their normal standards. They're being out of position often, and often it is W Maimon who's finishing up the job.
Riley's going to get pulled out on either side. Juby stunned out of it for a little while, stunned yet again by the Javelin, and now it's going to be played out from King. King can win this for them, though, with one more slash and dash away. Gets rid of Luke Mino at the same time. It's 3-0 in terms of trade here. Maryville gets a fight win as they take the Ducks first.
Great blade from King, able to get a few early. They wait for the stun bash from Admiral during rallies so they can ensure the pickoff onto the Brig, and then they find Luke Mino shortly after. It's a fight that they desperately needed to really stop the bleeding of momentum that was flowing towards the Redbirds, and it makes Lethal's job 10 times harder when you're trying to play an aggressive way here on Flashpoint. The Widow is just a little more awkward, as Maryville are just going to play behind natural cover a grand majority of the time up on the high ground.
By the way, we played 5 control points. This is the first time that Maryville started a control point with their flip.
Yep.
So 58 8% here as Maryville's looking to see if they can keep this lead and take us to a 1-1 scoreline, at least on this map thus far. But Lethal is lethal indeed. Gets the headshot on Division, and now it's just the running game. They don't have the Cassidy anymore to stun out the Genji. Instead, there's just a Javelin that can do anything to this team now. The Hyper Rings will come out. Luke Mino, though, was able to take care of Dante on the final blow alongside of help from Admiral. It's a push in, 95% for Maryville. Not too bad, one fight territory.
No, I think they take that, and that's why they didn't commit any ults, right? Like, they have Orbital Ray, they have Deadeye, they're going to have Terra Surge very soon. They did not need to win that fight, but granted, again, Lethal, these most random angles possible. So far away from the point, they're going to pop in for sight to ensure that they're not getting pushed on too heavily. But it's just throwing off the tempo that Maryville wants to play at. And now look at that. Vision gets out of position. They get jabbed into the wall, but this time they survive.
Yeah, it's just Lethal taking these off angles too, which is like taking away the attention, right? And you know Vision would usually play with the team. With Lethal though on the Widowmaker, you play so off from your team and so off position of where you expect the team to be that it just makes things a whole lot harder. Terra Surge is going to come in, at least collect Admiral before the rally down, but it's going to be the rally and the Orbital Ray at the same time. Deadeye comes out from Vision's not going to find anything, but at least stays them off for a little while here. Illinois State uses 3 ultimates of their own. It's going to amount to nothing. Maryville's going to score their first control point, whether or not it's flash or not.
Yes, they'll lock it down. Vision with some beautiful shots to line it up. And Dante as well, the Terra Surge, it really isolated Kuffa. They were not in the line of sight of Luke Mino and Admiral, and the healing was not able to come through. One apiece as we head into Refinery. And ISU again gained the early positioning, but not by a whole lot. And it has to be Maryville who rotate in.
Blade's going to come out for W. Moan here, looking to see if they can change their fortune. Swings away, gets a 1-for-1 trade at the very least, but no other kills will come because Lethal's right there to take care of business. King and W. Moan both using their blades, but in the end, control of the point belongs to ISU. And Admiral taking care of Dante will just solidify that.
It's again, this Widow shouldn't work, but it is, which is just absolutely ridiculous. The Blades don't really get anything from either side. Each team kind of knew they were going to pop out. Lethal's able to find 2 picks during that. Maymon gets shut down. And now it'll be, again, Maryville. Hey, how do you deal with this? But they're doing a great job, honestly, of defeating Kuffa. Dante's winning the frontline duel a lot of the time. It is just everything else around that the Redbirds have been winning relatively consistently, hence why they're at least leading here in Refinery.
Big thing there, Lethal popped the info site as Vision was trying to get a flank ideal there, but instead Vision's with the rest of the team now. That staves away a lot of the aggression that Maryville wanted to try on a split push. Instead, go back to this choke point here. Dante's just waiting for the right opportunity to throw a Javelin into the face of the other Orisa. Meanwhile, King, again, you can see the off angles played as Lethal's infra sight is over, so there is a Genji in the back. Do you know where the Genji is waiting, though? Yet again, Orbital Rays are up for Squid. Vision has the Deadeye at the same time, too. Otherwise, no ultimates on the board. Cupper could have a Terra Surge. Dante will have a Terra Surge at the same time. Terra Surge is going to pull in 3, and Dante's going to find 2 picks with it. It's going to be a win for Maryville, waiting patiently, and patience pays off.
They were just waiting for ISU to come just a little bit closer, draw them in, and they're able to use the very uncommon Orbital Ray Terra Surge combo to buff up Orisa's ult just a little bit more and able to find in. It was actually Maymon who goes in early. They start getting punished. ISU try and come in to save their Genji, and it actually just falls right into the hands of the plan for Maryville. The Saints now in a decent spot at this point, but ISU just need one fight as Maymon presses early and Orbital Ray comes out.
Deadeye, but it is going to be Vision that pressure owes so much here, and out of the way too inside of the Orbital Ray. Cupwick will go to try to push them out of the point, and in fact it works because ISU is able to take control of it. Whether or not they're able to hold it is the better question though, because Squid and Vision coming up big on 3 picks total means that this is going to go right back to Maryville.
Right back over to the Saints. We will have one more fight during Refinery as Maryville. Yeah, they just go in. They find Lethal early. That has been their one issue. They haven't been able to find Lethal a lot of the time in this fight, and they live and they survive that initial onslaught of the Orbital Ray. The rally, yes, it keeps ISU up, but it doesn't help them actually finish off the fight. And now the Orbital Ray advantage heavily in the favor of Maryville, with Squid already having it in hand.
The big thing here for Maryville that you should be telling your team is that you are not taking this Widowmaker at all. Orbital Ray is going to come out. That's going to be the Terror Surge out, and that's not going to really do much of anything there. Doobie and King find their trades. However, teams like Kill on Division may give Illinois State some kind of opening here. Javelin doesn't land, but Cuppa's got to back off right now. King, however, taking care of Admiral is such a big play because now you've only got 2 no heals left to go and you don't have that pressure on you anymore. Luke Camino stunned out, and it is going to be Maryville. And this is something we did not get to say yesterday in Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming. Guess what? New Junk City, map point for Maryville.
Map point as they isolate Cuffa. They realize, hey, Cuffa is on their own. They tried to int in to try and find Squid, and they get Squid. I'm guessing it was probably like 40 to 60 health. Not able to finish them off, and they just turn their attention to the backline. Admiral and Lucamino both finished off. And like I said, Maryville, a very uncommon position. And showing, honestly, me wrong. I wasn't sure if this was going to be the right call, seeing how yesterday was a 3-0 on this map. And so far, the gamble is paying off for the Saints heavily. And they will hunt down Lethal and finish them very early.
Yeah, King's just saying we're just going to end this quickly and early on. King's already going to slash away Lethal, and Lethal's no longer in this fight. 5v4 situation. Maryville has only started a flip once this map so far. They may be able to get a second already on. Terror Surge is available, maybe not wanting to use it yet, especially on a man advantage here. Deadeye's going to come out, just try to push them away. That is the Deadeye that finds WMI Moan, also thanks to the hyper ring that's out as well. And Vision's just going to keep hitting shots. It is going to just be a charge in from Cuppa just to get the Terror Surge available for the next fight, but Maryville starting off with a flip.
Yeah, they earned the flip again, and it does force Lethal as well. They will go over to the Ash. They're actually staggered out during that as King decides to press on forward. And a great Deadeye from Vision. They realize Maymon was in an awkward spot. They try and dash down to avoid it, but they just are caught a few frames ahead of time. Now, Maymon's in a really bad spot.
Speaking of bad spots, though, that is going to be Cuppa that's able to at least get 2 thanks to 1 kill on the Terror Surge and 1 after that. Dante's just going to push up on the Ash. Lethal's in a whole lot of trouble here, but does get a little bit of help just to survive for only a couple of moments. Maryville's trying to put on the pressure just to see if they can stall out anymore. But it doesn't really matter, though, as they do pull off a few ultimates. Luke Mino and Admiral both pulling out their ultimates. Big thing for Maryville. They'll still have the Orbital Ray coming up.
Yeah, obviously they have to win that fight, right? If you don't win that fight, this map is gone, and all of a sudden we're at 1 apiece after this map. So they needed to win that fight, but yeah, you're probably wanting to keep one of those at least. You're not able to, and now Lethal has a lot of pressure to build up bomb, even if it is purely for point presence. But Orbital Ray, Blade goes in.
Orbital Ray and Blade goes in at the same time, and King is just going to hack away at Lethal yet again. Lethal's been the main target of these plays, and they may have just won them this map. King has gotten both of them down. It's going to be a flip here for Maryville. But does ISU even get a touch on is the better question, because they are all so far away, and the only person you got left is WMI Moan. Spotted out, by the way, falling oh so low. Needs to touch the point. Does not have an opportunity to do so. Does Admiral get on? Yes, Admiral is on. That forces out overtime for right now. Jimmy, though, gets the whip shot on. WMI Moan's gone before a Blade can even get built. Now you're going to have Cuffa on the desperation ball. Again, it's just the question of if Maryville can close out. Weren't able to close out back on Helios on Ruins. They are only 1 fight away from doing it. Admiral somehow falling off the map. Squid Vision clean it up, and Maryville get vengeance on this map of New Junk City. That's 1st to 3 reduced to a 1st to 2.
That gamble pays off for Maryville. They obviously understood what went wrong yesterday in New Junk City. They make the adjustments, and I will say Vision popped off on the Cassidy. Every single time you looked at them, they were finding picks, and yes, the Deadeyes weren't all over the place. They got some crucial ones here late in the map. In Maryville, as you said, bring us now to a best of 3 for the rest of this series. ISU, the Widow risk that time around did not work out. I was kind of confused why the swap didn't happen sooner, to be honest with you. Maybe over to an Ash like they did, or even to a Cassidy themselves. But I think at that point, they were just too bought in to that mode of it's going to be boom or bust with Lethal on a sniper. And that time around, no luck.
Yep, boom. No boom, just bust.
Just bust.
But they bust basically. Well, it boom in a way, just boom went the team in general the rest of the way there. But it almost felt like too, right? They finally found the answer to it. Yes, Arena went down 100-0 to ISU, and you started to feel like maybe this was going to be a repeat, and then all of a sudden, somehow, some way, Maryville found the switch. Maryville was able to find that entire just like composition to work out for them. Yes, Vision wasn't able to flank, but even with the rest of the team right now, you got to give credit to the sports as well. Orbital Ray's been big. King has been able to pull some advantages off of that as well, especially on Blades. Do you feel like Maryville has finally found some momentum because they want to be the ones to win the Midwest yet again? Next map, by the way, where else could we go? But Scrims Row comes up next. Kings Row will be map number 3 here. A very familiar sight to those. We basically have played 2 of the 3 same maps that we did in Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming last time around, though. Illinois State wins this one 3-2. So yet again, they will go to a familiar map, and ISU winning this last time may give them some momentum.
Yeah, this pick makes sense, right? They looked phenomenal on this yesterday, and I'm not shocked to see it once again picked by ISU. The one thing I kind of started picking up as we entered the second half of that map was the fact that Maryville, that first round, ISU, again, they were continuing to be the aggressors. They loved pressing it early. Maryville started to realize that more and more, and they started to counterattack. We saw that a lot over on a Refinery, allowing ISU to push in, trying to punish the aggression, especially when it was initiated from W. Maymon. And during that final point, I think ISU realized that they tried to counter it out, but Maryville took the advantage. Like, hey, if they're going to slow down, we need to be the aggressors. Because normally, that is the team who wins in these compositions. ISU, yes, they've learned a great way to try and play a little slow. Maryville, the counter punch has been there, but I think it really made ISU rethink how they engaged, and Maryville took full advantage.
First time we're going to see the Pharah comes out here as King will go onto it. The only thing that can really hit it immediately by hit scan purposes is lethal, so this is going to be the one that makes the biggest difference. It is going to be the Genji versus the Pharah who gets the better advantage of it. Maryville's already starting this off as they're the first ones on point. Illinois State decides to kite away. Redbird's trying to stabilize here a little bit as they are being pressured on for right now. Vision's just trying to get anything, any kind of sort of pick here. Gets a hit, not a headshot onto Luke Mino, which means that at least the Juno stays alive for right now. But as I say that, though, Dante's able to get the Javelin Spear on. This is looking like a completely different Maryville team from what we saw yesterday. They are in the driver's seat, and they will get first point.
That was a great team shot on Kuffa. Kuffa thought they were fine, but a combined headshot from Vision and the jab from Dante opens it up. Over 5 minutes to go into Streets phase for Maryville, and Maymon will be a long time until they get here. They are the sole member of the Redbirds that gets the far spawn. And this Pharah, we've seen it a little bit here and there. There's been teams like Cumberland, for example, during Homecoming has really pushed this out a lot. But it's not a horrible look, especially when it's not an Ashe, it's not a Cassidy on the other end. The Widow, again, it's a lot more tricky to try and finish off this Pharah, and so far, it's been paying dividends.
Well, we can all agree that the Widowmaker provides the best clips.
Oh, of course.
Right.
Like
we
that, I'm not
can all agree on this. Like right about.
Oh,
never mind. This time, Orbital Ray comes out here from at least Lupino to try to get them any fight win here, and Widow's going to invest this despite losing 2 members already. So maybe a misplay here from the Saints, but regardless, Twins out of an Orbital Ray, they lose the fight under the arch.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Keegan. I won't lie to you. If it was just if it was just Vision that they lost, I think fine. You know, you still have the Pharah with the rocket suit, that can be incredible, and you still have your co-support with you. But the fact that it was Juby that dies first, I wonder if that was almost a panic, like, hey, we need to stay in this fight. I'm going to do this for the extra healing. By the time it actually finished up, you lose another one, and it's just an impossible situation to come back from. Everybody, seeing everybody right now, but Maymon falls first.
Yeah, everybody's seeing everything at the moment. Doesn't really matter, though. You're not seeing W. Maimon on the field anymore. Terror Search is out. That's going to capture at least 2 of it. One of it is Juby, who goes down on a hatchet, but Vision and King are still going to do their work. Kumpa's going to try to pressure everybody, but surrounded in this hotel and getting Javelin Speared as well. Kumpa's in a really tough position alongside of Luke Mino. They're all the way back inside of Maryville's spawn point, but it doesn't really matter when all the pressure's on you. They're going to get some free meters out of this.
That was a gamble from ISU. They realized where Vision was hunting from. They go try and finish them off. The Terror Surge misses the Widowmaker, and at that point, they try and pivot. They try and go after Squid. They try and go after Juby. And Admiral goes in to try and save their counter power, and instead, they die instead. Kuffa and Luke Mina are in too deep. Maymon and Lethal are left stranded, and this card gets free value all the way to the final corner.
They're stopped at the final corner for right now. Terra Surge not only available for Dante here. That's going to pull in 4 people. Is this going to amount to anything? It's a better question. That answer is no for right now. Everybody's able to escape. It's a 1-for-1 on the Widowmaker. So at the very least, advantage to Marigo, who has the only one with the ultimate, which is King on the barrage. When do you use it? You use it now, right in the face of Kuppa. And at the same time, that's going to be just enough force here. WMI Mondo's able to get rid of King, although it's being chased down by the Orisa of Dante. In a moment, though, they are going to pop the rally out, and there's going to be the orbital ray out from Luke Vito. Who's going to get the better of it? It is going to be the rally. Squid this time may have a better orbital ray than they did underneath the archway that allows them to push in, and they are going to have 351 to push this in.
Yeah, I won't lie, Maryville are picking apart ISU on the littlest of mistakes. I think Kuppa's playing a little too aggressive right now, and Maryville have understood that fact. And now, yeah, King will get off Mara. It's a really tricky to play that here in this final phase of the map. They will just match the Genji of WMA Mullen, but it's been quite impressive, the turnaround here from Maryville. They've looked phenomenal. Yes, they don't have any ults going into this other than the Infrasight later on from Vision, but it really hasn't mattered. They haven't cared that much about the ultimate advantage. They've just flat out won fights.
It feels like Maryville's being a lot more patient with this team from ISU as well. They're waiting for an opportunity to do so. Yes, maybe that one miscue from Squid earlier on, but otherwise it feels like Maryville's just taking their time, waiting for that door to open up a little bit, and Vision is going to do that immediately. Takes care of Lethal. Terra Surge available, is able to pull in 3 with it, but it's not able to do enough damage to kill anything, but the follow-up is there from everybody else. Kuppa's falling down oh so low, is a little bit trapped between an Orisa and the rest of the team. Kuppa's able to get out, but not for long, as it is going to be in. So again, first pick going the way of Illinois State, but Maryville's able to find a way in.
Yeah, Maryville, again, this is starting to get really tricky for ISU, but because Maryville, they've been playing lights out so far here on Kings Row, and I'm guessing they knew this was going to be picked by ISU. Like, hey, they're going to bring us back to this map. They beat us yesterday on it. Even though that time Lethal finally able to get a little bit of their groove back. That'll force Maryville back just so slightly. Yeah, ISU going to try and punish.
Yeah, and you can thank Admiral for holding up the shield there. Right, minus Condor. Hey, by the way, folks, again, endorse your supports. Endorse your supports if you win. 2 minutes left to go, and no ultimates used there. Lethal's just going to get a lay of the land here with the Infrasight just to see if there's any different positioning, because again, Lethal, I mean, they were using that earlier just to find any flanking position. WMI Mondo will pull out the blade, gets at least 1. King pulls out the blade as well, finds nothing. So yet again, Maryville pulls out 3 ultimates. Illinois State will trade with 3 ults of their own. But the defense is put up for ISU.
King got stuck in a really awkward spot. Infrasight, like you said, gets popped by Lethal. They understand, hey, they're on the high ground. And when they pop Blade, maybe they're thinking, hey, I'm just going to go to the Widow. The Brick won't have to worry about it. Admiral, though, was waiting to use the shield bash during the rally. The shield hits the flail, shuts down the counterattack perfectly. Now the other end, Maymo able to get complete value from their Blade, setting up another orbital ray advantage for Luke Vino.
Lethal finds a way to get this team into the back line. Vision is gone, which means you don't have to worry about a peeking Widowmaker anymore. Instead, what you got to worry about is the pressure from this Redbirds team all the way back to spawn room. Barely living is Juby, who gets back in time, but 1:05 left to go, and ISU's looking to melt the clock.
This is very similar to what ISU did earlier on the first round of Junkertown, to where, not Junkertown, New Junk City, I should say, as they're going to play super aggressive. They don't want Maryville to have just the normal way up. You can see Kuppa playing before this corner. They're trying to catch off the entry, but instead that time, able to force out the rally and almost death.
Yeah, that was a stun out too, which means that's a lot of damage coming, especially on the orbital ray side. Luke Mino and Kuppa will combine, and this is just a fight you've got to lose immediately. You just got to die already, because this is a regroup scenario. Squid knows that, but Kuppa still gets the kill in the end. It's a team wipe, 25 seconds. Maryville's lucky to still have another fight.
Yeah, Maryville, the fact that that fight went quick is the only thing that really went well. Rally is gone. You're going to be missing that healing. Lethal gets found out, so they're going to just get out of there. Squid does have the orbital ray. Watch here. I wonder if ISU try and fade it here, but that is big.
Huge, massive. They get rid of Lethal, though, in the process. Squid King will combine, and ISU knows this. They can kite off this. That orbital ray was key for them to push up, but the reminder, they still have 1 quarter left to go. So regardless of how this fight is, if they can stall this long enough or get picked, they might be able to do it. Terra Surge and Dragon Blade used simultaneously here from Maryville, but King's going to go down earlier on, thanks to WMI Mode using the blade of their own. They trade 1-for-1 at the very least, but the bigger one is Admiral down, who uses the rally, and Admiral no longer has that. It is basically a dry fight on either end. The only things you have is an infrasight for position. That is it. The last fight territory. Time block hits. Nobody's got a single thing. Luke Mino is the closest, Compa close as well to a Sarah Surge, which could very well make the difference. An immediate use of it will go ahead and find 2 people inside of it, and that's going to be the cleanup kills. Maryville stopped in their tracks yet again. From the Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming, a 2-point sequence back yesterday and only a 2-point sequence here.
Yeah, just Maryville, they just ran out of gas in the tank during the final bits. They used all of their resources. King has to swap over to the Tracer to make sure they can get back into the fight early enough, and that allows WMA to have way more free real estate to try and bounce around, and they're able to find that initial pickoff, and as well as the fact that Kuffa, as the beginning of that final fight, as overtime started, they were at 75% to ult. Luke Mino was at 75% to ult, and they were able to build up the Terra Surge, later on the Orbital Ray, to help finish it off. But I would definitely say more of a scrappy win for ISU than what they're wanting. And Maryville, they're definitely starting to earn their stride as we get later and later into this series. Especially, you know, we got to think about it this way. Just a little storyline in there. Luke Mino, they were on this team last year. They were on Maryville. They transfer over to ISU, and I wonder if there's a little bit of extra motivation for both sides.
Yeah, you figure just that little extra jump, right? Maryville wants that win against ISU, especially Luke Mino. Luke Mino wants to win against the former team. So this is where things get a little bit dicey in the terms of storylines, but ISU, like you felt at the end, like you said, able to stabilize a little bit more, able to gather their bearings together. Now you figure, can they do it here on the attacking side? 4 minutes on the clock for them to go underway. Jump shot is able to land at least a headshot, but that's onto the wrong person. That's onto a tank. You really don't want that one, but Lethal already up to 10% on an ultimate. Push-ins already, and this team from ISU wants to play aggressively. In fact, pushing them all the way to the little tower room. This is exactly what Maryville did against ISU on their attacking side, just pushing in, making sure they can create enough room, though. King and W Mimone already having to use the deflex on either end here. Torpedoes land. King is in a whole lot of trouble. Good thing you at least got a health back down on that side. See if King can pull away the attention of the Widowmaker at the very least. Vision, though, gets a headshot. Really nothing doing on either end here. It's going to be the Widowmaker they find. Nothing doing for that shot in the process. They will dash away from each other. They'll trade dashes. This really is a Genji versus Genji battle going on right now.
It's the Genjis with the Brig assist. Both Brigs fighting up on the high ground, trying to earn this positioning with their Genjis. And so far, neither side able to give it up, but Lethal falls during the mayhem.
Lethal falls by the hands of Vision, so Maryville gets their chance at holding up the fence here. Admiral, though, winning the Brig versus Brig battle in the meanwhile. So with the 1-for-1 trades on the mirror fight, but now it's W Mimone dashing right onto Vision. A javelin spin from Couple wins that mirror battle, and it's going to be Illinois State that are able to win the first fight, giving them well over about 5 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, it'll be relatively the same time, maybe slightly more for Maryville, I think they would have had, depending on where this lands. But yeah, getting that pickoff on the Brig, way more valuable than the Widow, because that allows Baymon to do whatever he wants. You saw the immediate pressure on Division as soon as the Brig went down, and that is definitely personal after how that last fight ended for Vision. But ISU, yeah, they'll have, there's what, 30 seconds less than what Maryville had going into Streets phase, but definitely not anything substantial.
25-second differential. Maryville started off the second point with 5 minutes and 21. State with 4:56 to push this through. So in only, what is that, half fight maybe? If you want to even consider how long some of these fights have gone. Right now, just pushing in. Orbital Ray's going to come out. This is a lot of ultimates being pulled out. 4 total. 3 from the side of Maryville, 1 from the side of Illinois State. Luke Mino will use the Orbital Ray, but if you're Illinois State, that's not too shabby, even if you lose here. In fact, you get rid of Juvie at the same time. That may be a kite-off for Maryville anyways.
Yeah, I think Maryville might slowly kite back. I think the fact that Kuffa dies late maybe allows them to continue pressing up, but there's no way for them to challenge Dante on this point. But yeah, they're gonna just jump on out because they know they don't have either support right now. As Squid, it did go back to help Juby into the fray, so the archway is no longer going to be a concern for ISU. It's just this kind of corner by the library. Is now they have those ults. They have the Terra Surge Blade advantage if they decide to use it.
Let's see here, 3 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock again. A Widowmaker pick early on. Lethal's able to get rid of King. But Maryville, we know that they may be down 1, but they are not out of the fight just yet. Although a Terra Surge will say otherwise. Kuppa gathers 3 inside of it, gets rid of Juby. The blade there just for security. That is going to be Illinois State winning the fight yet again, and this may very well be the point too.
Yeah, I doubt, unless King has a last-second touch, but I don't even think
no
that
way,
would even
right?
be worth it at this point, yeah. So they'll be able to stroll in about 4.5 minutes going into final phase to go 53.5 meters. I'd say if they had to finish the map, it's still pretty doable for Maryville, but this is a very tricky spot considering they only have to go about 2/3 of the distance during this final phase, and they still have the rally, but granted, Maryville have one of their own. It's going to be, again, the battle of these Widows, the battle of the first picks, and it's been going back and forth. The Lethal maybe starting to regain a little bit of the pep in the step.
Illinois State started off the first point, capping it down 25 seconds. Second point, they're up 43 seconds. So Illinois State having a quicker and a better second point area. To the third point they can advance on. Terra Surge available, though, ultimately 3 ultimates on the board for Maryville. That's going to be a lot to use from here, as they will not maybe even have to use the Terra Surge. They may only need the Orbital Ray to win this fight, and in fact, that forces the kite off. And if I'm Maryville, take that all day.
They need those kind of ultimates. They need that kind of impact where they're only using one and they're still able to get a lot done with it because 3.5 minutes to go. Time is not on your side. ISU truly only need to win 1 full fight and then a recontest to win this, as Dante already gets the gems in force.
It's going to be the Terra Surge out. There's going to be a lot of ultimates here. Rally, Orbital Ray at the same time. You may as well consider this last fight territory too. Juby's going to use the rally, gets stunned out for a little while though. Is able to push up with the rest of the team. Kites back for only a little while, giving them a lot of space though. 15 meters left. Terra Surgeon out. That's going to get at least 1 person down. And Kuppa gets down Dante thanks to the hands of Luke Pino. That's the play from W. Mimone. And the golden box of victory right in their sights. It's just a Genji left to go. And it's just and Brigida left to go as well. Illinois State getting the same exact score they did back on Overwatch Collegiate Homecoming yesterday, a 3-2 win, and 1 away from capping the Midwest Regional Championship.
That is exactly why they returned to that map. Like, that is exactly why. Is again, I will say Maryville are gaining strength during this series, but I think ISU started really polishing those mistakes later on. I think Maymon has woken up a little bit. It was definitely in the beginning part of the series. King was getting the advantage of them a lot of the time, and I think that difference has kind of evened itself out over the last map or so. As yeah, ISU, they lock it down 2-1, 1 map away from clinching it. Like you said, the first spot in CECC Texas, at least for Overwatch. And I won't lie, I doubt they want to go back through LCQs again more and more. And we've seen it, especially this year, the gap from the top to the gap to the pack that I would say in the rankings, I'd say about top 11, top 12 from 3 to 12. That is a lot shorter of a gap between 1 and 2 and 3 and 12 that we've seen in previous times, even Winthrop dropping maps here and there to teams in that range. So you don't want to be there, right? You don't want to be in the LCQs. Neither of the teams, I believe, are in partner conferences that would qualify them in other ways. So the LCQ would be the only other way. And you know, one team, no matter what, that will be there is Northwood. And you got to think whoever loses in the East between Fisher and St. Clair, they're also going to be hunting for that LCQ spot. So yeah, not a spot I would want to be in, but obviously both these teams recognize that. So we get ready to go into our 4th map of the night, potentially the last, and it'll be over to push for Esperanza.
Yep. Again, map must be unique. Map and mode must be unique to the series in itself. No clash available here, so it will be escort to end should we get there. But Jesse, the first time we get to say this weekend between these two teams, map 4. That's the big part of this because again, they did play a 1st to 2 yesterday in the Swiss, but they did see all 3 maps this time around. It's a 1st to 3, and we've seen 3 maps so far heading into the 4th. Esperanza is the pick. Illinois State stays on the blue side. Maryville on your red side still. And there is a switch of Vision not going on the Widowmaker. Instead, opts for the Ash. And Illinois State playing a little bit more divish as well because they have now Kuppa onto the Winston instead. So going back to map number 1 here, where Kuppa was on that Winston, Dante opting to stay onto the Orisa instead. Luke Mino, though, getting rid of King. This is the problem here, right? Maryville trying to change the page on their own, but when they faced off against an ISU team that knows how to adjust, and start to get a little worse for wear.
Yeah, the pieces are just going to fall apart right now onto Maryville. And this map is one of the few pushes you can really get away with dive. And if you know ISU well, especially this core with, you know, Kuffa and Admiral and Mamo and Lethal, they love running dive. If they can run dive, they're going to put Kuffa on the dive. They're going to put Mamon on this Tracer. That is what they feel most confident on. And yes, they're going to be on the Brig Ana variant because it works a little bit better with this setup than the Juno does. And that is going to force Maryville into a very awkward spot. Now that it is dive confirmed, Vision swaps over to the Cassidy to have a little more survivability. But you still got an issue of the sniper at range.
Well, yep, the difference between the Ashe and the Widowmaker, one can one-shot. And Jest on a headshot yet alone. Dante running themselves to half health already, and this is where Maryville needing to play some patience here because, again, you do not have Juby in your sights. You do not have Juby within your team right now. So the first fight win for Illinois State, by the way, again, a stat that everybody brings up. 80% of fights of teams that win the first fight win the map. There's a good stick onto Dante. Even a fortify will not save you with that amount of low health. 46 meters and counting will keep on marching down this line. King goes down. The rest of the team starts to fall. Maryville just with no answers.
I would have wanted a comp swap earlier. I won't lie. I think after that first fight, I don't know if I would have stuck the Orisa. I don't know if I would have stuck the main idea of this composition, but they are going to find Kuffa. They try and finish off Vision, not able to. So yes, there'll be a few extra meters that are gained after the tick, but that will be it. Everybody else will try and drop their way out. But again, I don't know if I would have kept it. That is just disgusting. Because of the fact that in push, especially once a lead is gained like this, especially if ISU, this bot isn't moving anywhere, they're going to have another fight here at the 70-meter mark. If they win this, they get it to 100. It is damn near impossible for Maryville to bring it back.
Yeah, if it's 100 to 0, you know what the odds are that I've learned of 98%. It's nearly impossible to come back from a 100-meter deficit at the same time. That's going to be a Winston Hinter to at least find the nade for right now. Deadeye's going to come out at the same time, see if this finds anything. Or really, I mean, we've seen a lot of Deadeye's be zoning ultimates more or less within the later stages of this game. And now Kuffa already getting a Primal Rage. Squid nowhere near found the team and gets pushed away by the arms of the Winston. See what they pull out here. Maryville still wants to play this, though, regardless of being one down. She was going to pull out the rally, but that rally doesn't even last that long. It's an Ana boost on the Kuffa. W Maimon also using the pulse. Illinois State will use the rally, too. And all of the ultimates for ISU mean they're going to push past 90.
Oh, and they're going to get the stagger onto Squid again, as during the very beginning of that, they get caught in an awkward spot. Kuffa pushes them into the very back corner of the map. They're not able to use Orbital Ray for a fight they desperately needed to win. Vision now goes over to the Widowmaker to try and challenge Lethal, who has King just pestering them a little bit, but at this point, the damage is done. This bot is almost at 100 meters.
We would have to see an insane sort of comeback here from Maryville as they, again, like you said, switch up the comps, at least Vision going on over from the Cassidy into the Widowmaker instead, just to see if you can put some pressure on. Orbital Ray's going to come out from Squid, but Lethal's able to find the headshot yet again. And so Squid's ultimate may go for nothing. Maryville's going to hope that they can get something out of it. So Terror Search is up, and a Terror Search is able to find 3 within the pool, but you still may not be able to find any picks anyways because they're stuck in a small room, and a nade there helps that out at the same time too. Juby gets the whip shot onto W Maimon, but again, it really doesn't matter here because yes, they jump out, but the fact of the matter is Dante's down, and now Dante's already switching over to the Doomfist instead.
Yeah, they do find that nice little flick shot from the grapple onto Lucamino. That will at least stop it for now, as at least, yeah, people will be shut down. The spot will get a few extra meters, I believe, yeah. Hidachi, no, Admiral is the one that's pushing it a little bit farther. But now this is an awkward spot. We look at this. 5 minutes to go, halfway through this map. And the Dante Doom has returned. Long have we forgotten about this, as Doomfist just hasn't really been in the meta for a long time. That's a disgusting punch, but they need, what, arguably, if they try to do it straight, 5 fights in a row to even get remotely close to where the Redbirds are, as forward spawns were just now flipped.
Dante might be cooking something, Joel, because like you said, long have we waited for this Doomfist, but I don't know if Illinois State is willing to put up with this. Because right now, right, they have the advantages, at least on some of the compositions. But when you're talking about a Doomfist here, that mobility, that really, I mean, that this Doomfist mobility outmaneuvers Kuffa. So right, yeah, you never exactly know where this Doomfist is going to land up, and especially on a threat like this Maryville team can be. maybe this is a page out of the playbook we didn't expect, but something that needs to be pulled out. And yet again, they only pull out 17 meters. Really nothing there for this Maryville team. And now the Illinois State team, I mean, they're going to pull out the Nano Boost, which wears out of time here. Admiral does have the rally to use. Juby using rally very early on as well. Vision, though, takes care of Kuppa, and that's the big one. The Winston's now down. So does Illinois State trying to push this forward. Squid's also going to invest the orbital right at the same time. What a Bionade, though, coming out from Leakfino. That is 3, but they're not able to follow up regardless. So a big Bionade still turns into 0 kills, regardless of if Admiral gets Squid, and Maryville sees a push.
After almost 7 minutes into this game, Maryville finally able to get some substantial meterage on the board. And like you said, if anyone's going to make the Doomfist work right now, it is going to be Dante on the tank here for Maryville. And so far, it's not been perfect. It's a lot more disrupt to try and allow Vision and King to get value, but it's not been a bad job so far as Lethal. Oh my god, Lethal is very much just trying to settle back, waiting for Dante, but instead they bait out Kuppa, and that's a massive pick, and tick will be achieved.
And Kuppa doesn't even get a chance to use the Primal Rage. You're not able to stall out that fight, so that is the checkpoint gain from Illinois State at the very, or from Maryville, excuse me, at the very least. Now Maryville, Jesse, do we want to say driver's seat yet? Because it looks like they may have, I mean, they've got ultimates to work with too.
Yeah, they have ultimates to work with, and like I said, they would have to win a few fights in a row, and they've earned that right so far. They've won the first 2.5 fights, I would say, up to this point. If they win one more, the comeback could truly be on.
2.5 minutes on the clock. They win this next fight, we could be talking comeback. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. Again, this Doomfist all the way in the back line, and an Infrasight helps that out too, because now you know the positioning of everybody and everything. Looking for the on a punch. That Sleep Dart doesn't land. Dante's got Luke Vito down. King goes down to the same token as well. Meteor Strike's going to come down. Doesn't find the Brigida for the moment. Whip shot away. But right now they've got Kuppa in a really tough position. Gold W My Moment's able to find Squid. There is going to be the rally out from Admiral and Juby, but Juby goes down way too early for that rally to make an impact now. 2-minute warning here as Maryville gets 70 meters, but it's back to ISU.
That's the worry with the Doomfist, is that you leave your backline completely open. And you really just have to pray that they can sustain themselves. And again, with the Juno being in play, it makes it harder for healing on Dante, and there's no sleep, there's no Bionade to go on to Kuppa when they dive in. It is purely the whip shot from Juby, so it makes it way harder for the backline to try and defend and sustain themselves. And now ISU, they understand they don't need to press super up. They can just continue playing this mid-range game, which benefits Kuppa more than it does Dante, because there's less walls for the supports to get bashed into.
Bigger thing though, King got rid of Lethal early on in that fight, and a little bit of a stagger. What a pulse bomb from King to stick that one. And now Luke Vito, by the way, had a Nano Boost to try to Nano Boost this Winston to do anything, but now that you don't have a Nano Boost, could be a fight win here. But no, Juby going down way too early on, and like you said, leaves the backline to their own devices, but it might not even matter here. If you're able to get rid of Lethal, you might have a door wide open, and now this is just a stagger onto the Widowmaker, which is big for them. They'll get the checkpoint, and they may even get more distance out of this.
They should at least be able to get, with how long it'll take for Maymon and Lethal to spawn in, I'd say about maybe the 85 to 90 meter mark, probably beyond 90 meters, maybe even close to 100. This is the most important fight of the map and arguably the series. Orbital Ray is online for Squid, combined against the Nano of Luke Mino. Luke Mino's gonna try and land this on the Kuppa to deny that value, but it's a major risk, but Dante gotta live.
Dante's gotta find a way to live, and live he will not. Lethal finds the final blow shot, and now this Nano-boosted Winston is hunting down for a Squid. But Squid will not get fished just yet, but finally does. And now this Tracer's in so much trouble, has to recall. It might not even matter here. 9 seconds left to go. Now you're in desperation mode here. Vision's just trying to live, doesn't have a grapple anyways. Kuppa's there. Primal Rage maybe just to secure this, and it is all but over unless there's one last contest here from this Maryville team. Starts to walk away here in the bot. Just jumped on at the last second. Dante's bionated though, has a Meteor Strike to try to cleanse that if needed. Touches the point yet again. But now Dante's just trying to stave this off for right now, but Dante doesn't have any time left, doesn't even use the Meteor Strike. Kills are falling left and right, and ISU, defending champions of CECC, are now going to be Midwest champions. They have won it all. They are the first ticket in. They told me last year, they told me in May that they were going to do this through Midwest. Promise completed. First ticket in. They're going dancing in 2025.
The defending overall champs take down the defending Midwest champs here in this final 3-1. And again, Maryville, they just can't seem to crack the code of ISU. I believe it was 3-1 during their NACE game ages and ages ago when I don't know if Juno Meta was even around at that point, but it just feels like Maryville, they're always so close, right? There's a reason why they're the number 3 team right now. They're just behind Maryville and behind ISU and just behind Winthrop. And this time around, can't get the job done. I didn't mind the Doomfist swap. I think at that point, you got to go for a desperate move. You're down 115-0 in the meters, and you're at least able to get it to the 90-ish mark, which is way more than I would have expected any team to do against ISU, considering the circumstances. But they have to go back to the drawing board as they will have to go through LCQ to try and make it to CECC Texas, which is already going to be crowded considering what we believe is going to happen in the other regions.
Yeah, especially with the amount of teams that were gained. Mind you, you know this off the top of your head, right? 62 in the West region alone. There was a jump of 58 team/players inside of that region alone. So that entire last chance qualifier bracket is going to be packed. It's going to be stacked. But for Illinois State, you know what they can do? Lay back in the chair, relax. They know they are going to Esports Stadium Arlington in 2025. So that will do it for our series here. A great series overall. Thanks to both teams, and congrats to ISU one more time. Redbirds go flying in. And in fact, 2 Redbirds teams now flying in. The Rocket League team won earlier today, 4-2. And we got the matchup yet again. It was Illinois State versus Maryville, and both teams from Illinois State winning out in the end. 4-2 in Rocket League, and right here in our Overwatch, 3-1 after a win on Ilios, drops the map on New Junk City, but wins the last 2 on Kings Row and East Esperanza. Special thanks to our producer, Professor Layton, as well as our observer, Cool Scoots, and the admin up there with Coltoon and Neon Star. Coming up next, by the way, is the grand finals of the Valorant Midwest Regional between Maryville, go figure, versus Ball State. So Maryville gets an opportunity as a program all together to get at least one map in. Maryville versus Ball State with Santox and Orbital right after this for Twin Salty. My name is Clutch Key.
I got one sec, Keegan. I don't want to cut you off, right? I don't want to cut you off here. This is very random.
Yeah.
I got to give a special shout out to who you said. Layton, this is his final regional. He's been here for a while. The Layton curse was not in effect tonight. It was not a 3-2, but it's been in effect the rest of the day. But yeah, shout out Layton. Gonna miss you, buddy.
Shout out to Professor Layton as well. Thank you very much for watching Valorant Maryville Ball State coming up next right here on Esports U.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the CECC 2024 Midwest Regional Grand Finals in Valorant. My name is Sam Tonks. Joining me, the phenomenal Orbital. Orbital, I'm excited for tonight, right? We have a big matchup in the Valorant collegiate space. Maryville University versus Ball State Red. Two titans in the Midwest ready to square off against each other.
I'm terrified. Both squads have been running it up in the history of their teams. And I mean, they have some new blood coming in here. New blood, old blood, and all the same. I mean, anyone that's been around the collegiate scene knows the fact that Maryville have a pretty storied record with their new roster they brought in this summer. And Ball State, for their own, have also done very well for themselves, going up just as close to the likes. So I am more than excited here.
I am also very excited. Quick note that we have to talk about, though, real quick, Orbital. Our teams got a little excited, a little ahead of themselves. And so map number 1 is already completed, right? So Ball State actually has the lead over Maryville University. It's 1-0. It all happened on Haven. It feels like a fever dream right now. But it was a 13-11 Ball State win. So it was still relatively close when you think about it. And for our next map that we're going into, Orbital, I'll let you talk about that. This could be a map number 3 game.
Listen, here's the deal. I don't see that happening, mainly because poor Maryville has had a Maryville curse on them throughout the entirety of this day. Listen, it's unfortunate. They are looking at any crown at this point. Third time here across multiple titles, but this, I feel, is one of their better shots. But I do agree this is going to be a potential game 3. Of course, 13-11, no worries there. It's hey, we had it happen. Going now into Sunset, Maryville, with this roster specifically, have done very well for themselves. I think, when I looked at the records, because I was checking them out, like 80+% win rate on there.
Yes.
Which Ball State have a pretty good one as well, but like I'm looking at Maryville saying, you know what you're doing here. Ren's back on the Neon, who hoping to showcase a little bit more than they did in map 1, had a little bit of a rough time there. I'll just put it that way. Really looking to step back up into this map.
Speaking of Sunset, really big changes have come to this map, right? Especially when you look over at that B site. No more invincible Cypher trips. No more of these necessities towards bringing in, say, a Sova. Both teams are still going to bring us a Sova, though. And in fact, across the board, it's practically mirrored, right? Ball State is running with what they typically do on this map. Same for Maryville. And for both teams, it's really who's going to be able to come out ahead, who's going to be able to step up, and who's going to be able to manipulate this new era of Sunset to their best favor. But going with what you're talking about, Maryville feeling very confident that they're going to be able to take on Ball State on what is hopefully going to be their map win.
And the question for me is, are they able to carry their mental? Because for me, it's always about the mental. When it gets to this top level, it's all about, are the players locked in? Are they ready to play? And granted, because we had a little bit of the error earlier on, it feels like there's a possibility that Maryville have had a time to kind of sit back, reset, mentally get back into this game. They know they're facing off against a very strong opponent. Map number 1 showed that. I did have some early intel as well. However, that Ball State Red had the lead for a majority of that game, 7-3 at one point. So Maryville, you know you're up against a tough squad. I want to see a good amount of strength come out here, especially since you're on the attack first. You can open up with a strong half, open up with some strength as well, and really show yourself. But Ball State are doing the exact same, really harboring over there on that A site, sending a majority share, and this is going to be a pretty rough opening, I think.
We're about to meet each other, but both pulling away at the very last second. Ren's got the, parting gift of no one to capitalize or remove them. Some utility taken off the board, however, for both sides. And now we're in what was going to be the battle on A. The battle in mid, and Chloric has dealt the first blow against Ball State, getting rid of their mirror, getting rid of the Sova. The Ball State rotate, though. You see who's already over here, right? Needs to get to this position. The battle is about to break out on this new B site.
Oh man, and this is the whole thing. It's a little bit more difficult breaking, or a little bit easier, I should say. But Rebo's still holding it off on the wayside, and I think this peak should give a pretty good glance. So calling in the rest of the squad. Oh, Rebo might be caught out a little bit here.
Oh, it's good counter stuns though to stop Rens from going any further. And though they had the idea of where Rebo was with that recon bolt, it's not going to be able to do anything for them here. And BSU is doing a phenomenal job at preventing Maryville from gaining any more space on this site. And again, new Sunset Orbital. They cannot plant safely. They cannot plant where you would usually in the before. And though, clean headshot on the Phobos.
Ooh.
Now they have to go through the rest of the squad who are still on here. And the rotation has begun. Maryville is very staunch about staying here. TN has to be careful. And instead of wanting to take that fight, wait for the regroup, play with your team, spike planted.
I like this, and BSU for their own, trying to rotate everyone back in. So Ball State sitting on the back end of CT spawn side. It's going to be difficult. They don't want to flex out, and obviously you have to swing both sides. So Rose, TN at least gets one.
Oh, caught inside of the double, 2 players. But TN is hurting, so is Chloric. One good shot onto them and it's gonna be over. Slides on to the other side, now it's a 1v2.
Oh.
But again, so low at a precipice moment here. Trying to get into the half. Wildfire, completely undeterred. No one saw them, and a right click from them clutches out the round. Couldn't have been done any better than that.
You mentioned the plant differences here, being forced to plant out a little bit more in an awkward position on that backside, but Wildfire getting away with robbery, right? They're allowed to sit on the lower side of B and say, hey, I'm not worried. And you can actually see catching the likes of Fraggleton just looking the wrong way, which granted in pistols I think happens more often than not a terrible position because you still got kills on the board. TN already working their way towards their ultimate. You can see the 4 out of 7 on the charges. Should be a good time here. However, you are in that safe position.
I'm interested in this Chloric Phantom buy right off the bat, right? They want to get the firepower online quick with that hero rifle. And the rest of the team is kind of operating in that same distance. You're the Guardian pinging through. Quick smoke in mid. That's all just to lure the attentions away. And this is for Grim, a big moment where they need to make sure that they continue to have eyes on this A site. So many of these players are stacked towards mid in case of that attack actually coming through. But for Maryville University and how slow they're going to work their way towards the site, that much more difficult until they realize, wait a minute, no one's actually here.
Of course, Grim's about to send him a little bit of a welcome gift, but it's an answer to what's going on here. And for Ball State, this is one of the worst situations you could be in with lower gun utility. You're really hoping to kind of sprint your way in. This engagement is wild.
Okay, Ange. That's a good headshot, though. Good way to start things off again. You've gotten rid of Chloric with that Phantom. Just don't let him get any further than that. Wildfire is spraying, praying, and they have been answered. Even better, they find the Phantom. Someone find the Phantom. Okay, Wildfire did it. I got a little scared there, Orbital, but the important thing is Maryville made it through. And you would think too, right? They lost 2 players, but Ange only had the go, so it's not the end of the world. Really losing only 1 gun.
You go ahead and just, hey, it's not the worst thing in the world. You go ahead and still carry onwards, and you can still take a lot of the util out. You're taking a look, trying to, for Maryville, say, hey, take out at least 2 or 3 of the members, or even try and catch them all off guard. If you get this rush down, maybe it will work. You're still aiming towards that A site.
Oh my gosh, you got to feel for Rins. You really do, right? Every time that one brain cell neon play, they just want to slide. They just want to run. They want to go full speed. That fault line is always the wrinkle in that plan. Rebo, seeing the cage go up at market, and they're not going to lower the door, right? They're confident in being able to take this fight. Set up with the smoke in mid. It's going to create a one-way over on the other side towards A. Really stop them from coming through. It's all about setup now here. It's all about waiting for it, and a brilliant flashbang is going to set TN up for the kill shot onto their mirror matchup, and now they're going to try and double dip back in for some more quick fast lane, all just to fool them out, all just to play with their heads. Look at mid though, and look at where Giza is sitting.
Oh, looking at that flank angle if given the opportunity, lurking behind, but they still got to get on the site. Maryville still have to be able to make their way onto site with lowered amounts of util. You don't have much of the bucket, so this is a straight up gun duel. And honestly, BSU are going to alleviate.
So
they're leaning back. They're saying it's okay, and they're going to meet a mid.
It could have been huge had Giza landed a kill shot under TN. But unfortunately, it's now leaving it to the final 2 members of Maryville. And Wildfire had no HP, getting run over in absolute certainty. Eng may have the Phantom, but what more can they do beyond that?
Oh.
They can get that at the very least, but a quick stun, concuss, not able to see death incoming and approaching. State University denying the bonus round for Maryville. Not only that, Orbital. They did it relatively cleanly.
3, I would always consider is that magic number. You're more than happy carrying over. I mean, it's more like the standard. Once you drop down to 2 alive, then you're like, I'm screwed. But this is how I do like to say the early start to Valorant always runs. 3 rounds, pretty much the same. The main thing, we do see Ange with that from the shadows, and then of course, Teen with that electrocution ready to go. Almost that hyperdrive style that can lead into obliteration if Maryville are not safe. So break out that slow roll default, try and bring more util out, and BSU instead gonna play a long game. Very safe, passive start here.
Maryville loves starting off this A site, poking and prodding at where the weaknesses of Ball State is actually going to be this time around. The good news for if you Rins, right, no breach to stop you, but you've also reined yourself in to not run like crazy and tip the hand just a little too early. And for Ball State, this is something different that they're used to from Maryville. It's not the full speed ahead. It's not the let's go crazy. It's not the run all over the place. It's really abuse the timer for as long as we can. Grim's on the other side of here, right? But it's just a sheriff that they get to use. Isa maintains their cover in mid, and they may even be able to hang out here for a little bit longer. But over on the other side, Fraggleton sprays Wildfire back. Klorg has the trade immediately. Spike's gonna go down, a 2v4.
In this instance, is actually very rough for Ball State. Not only do you have to cover so much ground to get over, you're going to be entering in most likely from opposite sides, but if you opt to enter in from this lower A side rung, it's going to be an okay time matching up, but you're still in a 4v2. You do have a little bit of cover. I mean, you can have an entry piece with that breach if you wish, but I don't think it's going to do too much.